So I decided to take the bathrobe off. Here we are live now.
Okay, yeah, thanks for taking the bathrobe off. I still got we both got our pajamas on today.
We doing it.
We
That's
do
what we do.
the
Yeah.
dad life.
Yeah. I know I've mentioned this before, but I find it funny and awesome that the bulk of my communication with you typically happens before like 6 a.m.
Right.
It's like our
You
text
gotta,
threads are from like starting at 4:30 in the morning sometimes.
well, the kids, I realize that this is the time that we actually get, work done because come then it's kid time,
Yeah.
and then there's another window of work time, and then 2:30 pick up, okay, kid time until until like 9, and then maybe there's a little bit more work time, or it's
Yeah.
bed and get up and get up early, do it again.
Yeah, that was a big lesson for me when after we had our first kid, it was actually more so once we had our second, that I really realized that like if I want time for myself, because my kid, especially my older one, she gets up really early and she was getting up at like 5 something in the morning when I was getting up at 5 something in the morning. And so I just started getting up earlier. And I remember when I made that conscious decision, well, I'm just going to get up earlier so that I can have time for myself. It was, it seemed like a really simple thing, but what it opened up for me was just the idea like, oh, all this thing that we all have about like this excuse of, well, I just don't have the time or whatever. It's like, well,
Sure.
no, you don't. Like that's not a thing. Like you
Right.
can just get up earlier. And
Yeah.
for so many people, that seems like such a ridiculous idea. What do you mean get
Mm,
up earlier?
mm.
But we
Go to
put
bed
these,
earlier. Yeah.
well, go to bed earlier. But whatever, even if you don't, I mean,
Sure.
we put these
Rules.
these rules, yeah, about what we can and cannot do, and yet I think like, oh man, like I'm just not getting enough done. Or some people say, man, like I just want to start this business, or I want to do this thing, or I want to have this goal, but like, oh, there's just no time.
Right.
Like, dude, just get up earlier. Like I
Yeah.
remember when I did that for myself, I was like, whoa, okay, like you really can. It's not about doing it. It's
Yeah.
about like how bad you want this thing. And for me, what was so important, what I knew that like a boundary for me was, I knew that I would be better for my family. I would be better for myself if I had some time for myself.
Sure.
And if this is the only way that's gonna happen, okay, well then I just rejig everything around that one thing, and then all of a sudden everything else seemed to kind of fall into place. And then now it's gotten to the point where like I find it so odd. I never thought that this would happen because I'm definitely more of like, left to my own devices, I'm definitely more of a night owl. Like I'll stay
Right.
up
Right.
till all
Sure.
hours of the night if I could. But it's gotten to the point now where, so my alarm clock goes off. I have two alarms. One is on my wrist, so there's like just like a little. It's like a $30 smartwatch that I got. It's supposed to do all of like the fancy things, like take my heart rate and
Oh yeah.
blood
Yeah.
pressure and all this stuff. Yeah,
Yep.
except I paid like $20 for it, $30 for it on
Oh
Amazon.
man, I got ripped off then.
Well, none of it works. It doesn't work properly.
Oh, okay.
But what I wanted it for was for an alarm clock that would just buzz, or it would just like vibrate, so
Yeah.
that I
Not wake
wouldn't
everyone else
wake,
up.
so I wouldn't
Yeah.
wake and my wife up, because I know that if I wake my wife up at 4:30 in the morning, then the rest of the
Not
week
a great
doesn't go
start to
well.
her day. Yeah.
No, and so I have that one that goes off at 4:30, and then at 4:31, if I'm not up, there's one that goes off on my phone,
Right.
which so once it goes off my phone, it will not shut off until I scan a QR code that's in my bathroom.
Oh, how do you do that?
So there's an app called Alarmy, and so
Okay.
there's like different challenges that you can choose from to turn the alarm off. So I printed a QR code. I just printed it and I pasted it on the back. I taped it to the back of the door in the mirrored cabinet in the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's my leverage, so that and the same thing. There's a little. It's my phone will vibrate, and then there's music that starts, and it starts getting increasingly louder and louder, as
Yeah.
like it's like a whimsical like little song that comes
Yeah.
on. But again, I know that if my first alarm doesn't get me out of bed, well, usually it does. But when it gets me out of bed, like I know that I have 1 minute to get from my bed to the bathroom, the kid, or like what we call our kids' bathroom, which is like the main bathroom outside of our bedroom, so that I can either like turn it off, or if it's gone off, then I have to scan the QR code. But it's just leverage for me to get up. It works for me.
That's genius.
Yeah. But what I'm finding interesting is that what's actually waking me up now is we have an automatic coffee maker that goes off, and I just hear like the water percolating, like the water. Yeah. And I hear that at 4. So that goes off at 4:21 usually.
Okay.
And I hear that, or I'm also probably up even like a minute before that. Like my alarm clock is like my own body at this point. I find it so odd. No matter what time I go to bed, it's conditioned, and it really taught me something the other day about just the conditioning, like with the things that we do day in and day out, just become part of who we are. And I never thought that waking up at 4:21 in the morning would just be something that became, and like quote, became natural, or became, it's like, wow, like anything that we do, it just becomes ingrained in who we are. And also I know now going to bed early, getting up early, regardless of how late I went to bed last night, getting up early will more than likely force me to get to bed early tonight.
Sure.
Because I'm going to be exhausted by
yeah.
If I'm up at 10 p.m., like I'm exhausted.
Yeah. Or you have a little dad nap in the middle of the day.
Oh yeah, I am the king of the 7-minute nap.
7 minutes. What about the 20-minute? There's supposed to be you're supposed to get 20 minutes. What's the 7 minutes?
Well, it's just 7 minutes. It's just, I don't know if you remember the movie. Something About Mary. There's a movie.
Jim Carrey.
No. Ben Stiller and what's that woman's name? Really famous
actress. Was he proposing to her or something like that? Did he go over to like her dad's house?
I don't even actually remember. That movie's so old at this point. I don't even remember the whole premise.
Vaguely, okay, yeah.
But anyways, there's a really funny scene with Harland Williams and Ben Stiller. And Harland Williams is driving in the car, and he's talking about his genius idea that he had. He's like, this is back when we had like Blockbuster and video stores where you had to go and rent DVDs and VHSs and stuff like that to watch movies on your television.
Our grandkids that are watching this are going to have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, back in the day, we had to go to a physical store and rent these devices, these things that we stuck into machines that we had that were attached to our TVs that would play bad quality video.
And you could only pick out what they had in store.
Yeah, they only had a finite amount. So if they didn't have it, well, you got to go back next week. So
or get something really bad.
Exactly. So Harland Williams is talking about, he's like, yes, what you got at the video store? He's like, you got those videos like the 8-minute abs. And
okay, yeah.
Yeah, like the 8-minute ab workouts. He's like, well, I came up with a new one, 7-minute abs.
Right.
Like, who's gonna go to the store now? And you can see you got 7-minute abs, you got 8-minute abs. Like, which one are you gonna go for? You're gonna go 7-minute abs. And then Ben Stiller goes, yeah, well, what about when someone comes out with 6-minute abs?
And then he just on his face.
The Harland Williams kind of like bugs out. It's hilarious. If you know who Harland Williams is, like his facial expressions are hilarious, and he kind of bugs out. Like he's like the computer's just like, and he goes, 6-minute abs. He's like, there's no way you can't get a good workout in 6 minutes. It's 7. It's 7-minute abs. Plan
is screwed now. Yeah,
it's so funny.
Is that the Wayans from Living in Color?
No, this is a white guy, Harland Wayans.
Oh.
Harland, Harland Williams? No, wait, Harland Williams maybe.
Okay, yeah. Harland Wayans sounds like like a name of the guys that would have been on. Anyways, okay. So 7-minute nap.
Yeah. No. So anyways, yeah, right. The 7 minute. So it's never mind the 20-minute nap. No, it you know where that started was when I was in high school. I used to work at a bike shop, so I would build mountain bikes and road bikes as my job, and I used to be like a bike mechanic, or I learned how to be a bike mechanic,
Do you go
and
biking
so not too much, not too. I had my bike stolen a handful of years ago. I'd built my own bike. I had like it was a beautiful
Dual
thing.
suspension?
No, it was I'm old school, so I was just single suspension,
Hardtail.
hardtail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
hardcore.
so
Okay.
so I would get home from school, and Harland Williams is the guy's name. Harland Williams. It was actually Canadian.
Okay.
He's a Canadian guy. Anyways, I would get home from school, and I would need to put my stuff down and have a snack, and then I would have to leave right away to go to my job. And what I realized was like I would get home, I was like, oh, I've got 4 minutes. Like I've got to leave the house in 4 minutes, or I've got to leave the house in 6 minutes.
Right.
And so I would put the timer on the oven for whatever it was, however much time I had, minus
Is it one of
1
these
minute.
timers where you had to actually like twist the thing?
No, it was like a digital timer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But so I would put it on for 4 minutes, and I would just lie on the couch. Or it was 6 minutes. I would just lie on the couch and pretend. I don't know if I was just pretending. Clearly I'm just pretending. I'm lying to myself that I can have a nap. But that I just started that habit. So it was like I would look and like, oh, I've got 3 minutes, and so I would just lie down for 3 minutes. And so but it's funny as you mention it. No, I've never really thought about it, but yeah, that's a habit that I've maintained. Like if I literally will have a
30
minute
years?
and a half,
Yeah.
yeah, 30 years later, yeah, I still do it. Whether it's effective or not, I have no idea, but it's just what I do.
Well,
Literally, if I have a
nervous-
minute and a half, I'll just lay down. I'll just sit there. I'll close my eyes and I'll put my timer on my watch or on my phone for like 90 seconds.
Okay. So you're giving your body look, we got to get some rest in 90 seconds here. Let's go. You're giving it a deadline.
Yeah, and I believe that it does something. I have
Well, you
no
know the nervous system as a chiropractor is one of the things that you do. Being a chiropractor, you know the nervous system.
I do.
Aren't you? Isn't that like if I think of like the tech world? Because I've done this too, but I think you've trained your nervous system far more efficiently than mine. I feel like there's a sweet spot where your nervous system kind of reboots. You feel like you're giving it some sort of rest that gives it a bit of a reboot, like recalibration, something like this.
Yeah, I mean, whether physiologically there's actually something happening, I think it's like the mind over matter type of idea. Like there's something it's just a decision that I've made that, yes, this is making a difference. And so whether it's some sort of placebo thing or whether there's some sort of actual
Do you feel a
reset within
physiological
my nervous
change
system, I don't know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
though? All right. Well, maybe next time, check it out. I feel a reboot. Like I actually feel like I go through some sort of cycle, like a REM or I don't know the sleep terminology, but I'll do this too, right? Like yesterday, I gave myself 20 minutes, and I went and lied down on my couch in the office here and went through a reboot. And I woke up, I felt great.
Great. Do you ever do anything where you like a, what's it called? Like binaural beats or things like that, like while you sleep?
Not now. Actually, it's a good reminder. I used to. We have these like futuristic glasses where there's like even light strobing things going on, and then the headphones, and then there's binaural beats, and that thing. Yeah, that thing took me somewhere. But just for a nap, I forgot. Yeah, I don't, but I could. Like if you throw on some good, like some of the good frequency kind of music, yeah, that could help. Eh?
Yeah, there's a YouTube channel that I follow, that I would go to sometimes. Like it was he had some videos called power naps. So he had like a 20-minute, 25-minute, 30-minute, I think 35-minute.
But this is a shove an ad. Do you have the paid version of YouTube?
No, I did at some point, but I don't right now.
Does he have like this annoying ads though, like 5 minutes in?
No, it just at the beginning. So you go through it. Yeah. So you just go through the ads and then, but yeah, so it starts, there's some sort of binaural beat thing. So it'll last just for the time or the length of the nap that you have. And at the
Sweet.
end, there's like a little ding
Right.
to wake you up. And I try to do that sometimes. And I find it's sometimes if it's depending on where I am, but if I'm lying down, if I have my headphones on, because they say for binaural beats, you need to be wearing headphones. It's like only good if I can lie down on my back. But if I want to,
Yeah, 'cause
if
then
I
you
want
got
to move
these
around a
things
little
on.
bit,
Yeah,
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 it's kind of hard sometimes.
But you already got it working. You don't need if it ain't broke. You got the 7 minute nap, man. Why would don't mess with it?
well, if I can have 20 minutes,
Yeah.
man, if I could have 2 hours, I'd take it.
I don't know. Maybe the 7 minutes all you need. You see this guy in Japan? He gets 30 minutes of sleep a night.
You showed me that. Yeah, you sent me that article. That was nuts. I remember seeing a documentary years ago about somebody. I don't know if it's the same person. Probably don't think it's the same person because this guy's a little bit younger. But yeah, they did a study on some guy who, yeah, he'd slept 45 minutes a night or something like that, and he'd been doing so for 20 some years.
Yeah, same with this guy, right? He's like fitness champion. Dad. He's got kids. I don't know. I'd like to meet the guy. He's getting a lot done. Maybe we get him on the show here.
Man,
Like think how much more stuff he's getting done.
yeah, man, yeah. If I didn't have to sleep, man,
What is that? A third of a day? So he's getting 33% more done than the rest of us. I know.
or he has the potential to, or he can watch a
Unless he
lot of
dies.
movies.
Yeah. Or binge a lot of Netflix, or he might die, in 2 years from now.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean, all that said, sleep is very, very important.
Yeah.
Very important.
Quality, some sort of quantity. Yeah. This bad boy though, I'm glad I bought. This is not a $30 watch. Where is it? That's the wrong way.
Yeah. Which one is that?
Garmin.
That the Garmin?
Phoenix
Yeah.
7 Solar. I used Perplexity to do the research for me. My favorite AI search engine. Give a little plug, even though they don't pay us anything. But
Yet.
right. So the interesting thing about, have you seen this AI? What's happening though, right? Is they're bypassing Google's entire business model. The whole SEO game is out the window now, right? Because the AI search is bypassing all the hacks and all the stuff that went into SEO for the past 25 years. It's out the window. Google's core business model out the window. So Perplexity has found me stuff that I can't find on Google. Same with ChatGPT. And so I can now ask Perplexity, which I did, boxing, or what is it called? Black Friday that week. I said, find me the best training watch I gave it some criteria. Find me the best training watch on sale right now, or smartwatch, training watch in Canada, best rated, best value on sale in Canada. Boom. Phoenix 7, $500 off. It was almost half price at Best Buy.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, sold. Because the new 8 has come out and it's like $1,000 more, and it's got a microphone and a speaker. So I was like, I want that, like Dick Tracy, right? That where I could actually, I know you can do this with the iWatch, but I'm not an Apple guy. So I wanted it, but I'm like, I'm not spending $1,000 for that.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man.
But this thing charges from the sun. It lasts for like a month. Well, not quite. It lasts so far, I think, for like a couple weeks. I don't have to charge it.
That's amazing.
Come on. Let's see the iWatch do that. Or Apple
Yeah, when
Watch.
I had my Apple Watch, yeah, it was like if I could get through the whole day, it was like, oh,
2 weeks. I got heart rate. I got sleep stats. I've got training recovery time. I've got VO2 max.
yeah. But can you watch YouTube on it?
No.
Yeah,
I
but
can't. Yeah, I can't talk to it. I can't watch YouTube on it. But hey, I just get all these life, like I only get I just get the most important life metrics. That's all about vitality. But other than that, no, I can't watch YouTube.
Do you remember when you first started first started looking into like life data, like your health data,
Yeah.
like how did it really change how you did things?
HRV was the first one, right? Which was that was mind blowing to me. The fact that there is data that measures the amount of stress we're under. Right? You know this one, right? As a
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been 10 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. Totally. Well, yeah. I'd have to like somewhere in that journey, because there's a lot of things that happen at once, right? That's when we started the men's group, started getting awareness of just more personal growth stuff, went to Tony Robbins. Like there was a lot that happened at that same time. So I can't say that like because I knew this, all of a sudden all these things changed. It was largely part of a journey. But what I like is the feedback mechanism, right? It's like, okay, yeah, when I drink a lot, look what happens to my, my stress level and my sleep score, because my body's processing toxins and adrenaline all night. Oh, look what happens. Like even this thing right now, it tells me that, stress level is a little high from 7:30 to 8:30. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. There's a lot going on to get the kids out of the door. So it's just, for me, it's always been a great external black and white reflection of what's going on internally.
Right.
So yeah, and then having VO2 max, that's the new one now that I love, because that's a game for me now, because I want a new high score. And apparently it's the best metric of longevity.
Right. Yeah. Dr. Peter Attia talks about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because your $30 smartwatch ain't going to give you that. I'm sorry, but this bad boy with the heart rate monitor, I know this isn't going to be as accurate. I used to run with the chest strap, but that's just not happening, right? Like I don't know where it is, and I'm not, I just want to go for a run. I don't want to stick this thing on. So now this thing doesn't come off. I sleep with it. I run with it. I don't know why I keep putting my wrist up. You've already seen it, but
What was that?
Garmin. Maybe Garmin will throw me the Phoenix 8 one day, eh? Give them a little shout out.
Yeah.
But we do need to tag them in the videos. I realize when you tag people, they show up in this, like in the YouTube thing. So I'll remember to tag all the people we just mentioned. Not that we're doing that on purpose, but it just helps, I think. So VO2 max is the latest one that this thing now, and it's oh shit, I did it again. So yeah, I like having this. I'm a little bit data driven. I took computer engineering in school. I like numbers. I think it helps. You can sense it. Like I'm feeling a little run down. I'm feeling a little stressed. And then I find the data just helps confirm sort of my own sort of, intuition, if you will, or my own sense of things.
Yeah. It seems like that could go one of two ways for some people. I'm also the same way. Like when I see the data, it's like, oh, it's like really.
Yours isn't accurate though.
No. Not, I don't take any data from that watch, but I did have an Apple Watch at some point for a little bit.
Right.
And I mean, we do track, let's say like in my chiropractic practice, like we track a lot of data for people, especially on our re-exams. We do some computerized testing.
I'm coming to see you today with my daughter.
That's right. But yeah, like I remember when I had my Apple Watch, or even on my phone too, not that it's super accurate because I don't carry my phone around all the time, but just seeing like the steps, like, oh,
sure.
Like, oh, like I'll see, especially when I had my watch, I'd be like, oh, like I'm at like 9,000 steps. I'm like, oh man, okay. Like it was like a motivation. Like, okay, I want to get that 10,000 or in the same way that it would show that, oh, like my whatever data, like, oh yeah, like I didn't sleep very well. And then it was like, oh yeah, I can see it on the watch. And then so all of us, after a while, I could almost reverse it too, where if I felt like I couldn't figure out what I was feeling, like I'm like, I don't know if I'm feeling bad or if I'm not, I don't know what it is. But then I look at my watch, like, oh, like the HRV is like way down. Like, okay, maybe I'll just take it easy today.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, like I'm feeling really tired, but then my watch said, everything said like, oh, everything's good. I'm like, okay, no, I can push through this.
Yeah.
And yeah, whereas I think some people, if we're not careful, can also, like that could just be not just a time suck, but an energy suck and just a mind fuck. If you're always just attached to the data, like what does the data say? What is it like?
Yeah, you lose all your own power.
Yeah,
you handed it over to the machine, right? Like you tell me what to do now, right? That's outside in, totally.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's definitely a fine balance there. Because at some point, I mean, this is not really like it's outside in now, but really it's telling us what's on the inside.
If you're
So,
using it, yeah.
and I mean, it's also not super like as crazy sophisticated as this technology is. It's still like in its infancy,
Sure.
and especially like because we don't. The fascinating thing is we're in 2024, and I've read, you know, tens of thousands of pages on anatomy and physiology
Sure.
and all kinds of stuff about the human body. Yet we know so little about
Right. Right.
everything that happened because there's so many different parts and just all the different systems and how they play together and how they play together with or like how we how we interface with the rest of the world from the outside world to the inside world. I mean, we know so little about that, and I can only imagine like as we understand more the different nuances of everything, like the stuff like our technology that we wear becomes more and more just part of part of us. It's not just this external thing. It's I don't know.
Sure.
It's this weird thing that's happening. Like we're morphing into something different.
Are you going to put a microchip in your body?
I don't know. Probably not. But I'm tempted to
But you could,
sometimes.
well, but you're right. Like you know the system. Like my daughter needed to go for some blood test, or she didn't need to, but anyways, but we don't have to go on about the system because you know it. But she needed some blood work. So we go to the blood lab, you wait some stupid amount of time. And then they've got to take 4 vials that are like this full of blood, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, what year are we in now that you need this much blood to measure these things? Like, shouldn't you just need one drop and then use it for everything? I don't understand. So I could see where if you did have something that was, tapped into you, it would be just feeding real-time data about what's going on in your blood, and then boom, oh, it's picking up something's going on here, whatever. Let's get that looked at. But the whole reactive system and then draining all this blood out of you, then it gets shipped anyways. And then we have to call in because we can't get the results online because of our age, and then the guy can't even tell us the results. So I don't even really know what they are, but I got to trust this guy who's in the system that says they're good, but normally they only say that's good. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially in our system here in Canada, where, like I was telling you yesterday, I was ranting about when I was having some blood work done, they wouldn't actually even test some of the parameters that I wanted tested
yeah.
because I didn't meet certain illness
You weren't sick
criteria.
enough. You
I
weren't
wasn't sick enough for them to, like, but literally, if they've already tested it, the data is already in the computer, but they just can't print it on the paper and tell me what the numbers are.
Oh, it wasn't even another test. Like they didn't even have to take more blood.
No, it was the same thing.
Like
Like,
you're trying to be healthy. This is our healthcare system, though. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and I couldn't even pay them. They wouldn't even take my own private money
So as a
to tell me what it is because it's against their rules. So
what business wouldn't, you've got a customer sitting right in front of you that wants an extra service and is willing to pay for it, and they say no.
it's called government. It's called our bureaucracy.
A little. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that for? I find it fascinating that at least our government here. Oh, I'll have to send you this video. This guy comes up from the United States, and he goes to somewhere outside of Toronto, like one of the suburbs. And I think he's like from New York, like Manhattan or somewhere. And he goes to a suburb of Ontario, Canada, and he's like, "What the fuck is going on here in Canada? How are you guys paying so much to live here?" Like he just went on a rant about the cost of living here coming from New York. Like he's like,
Right.
where I come from, I don't get shocked when I get the restaurant bill. I don't get shocked when I go, buy something. He goes to this small, not a small, but he goes to a suburb of Toronto in Ontario, and he's like, what the so I thought that was a bit of a wake up because, and then you look at the comments, right? And I just think it's not, yeah, if obviously you and I have our own businesses. It doesn't make sense as a business to decrease your revenue, increase your labor, increase your labor, and then increase all your costs, and at the same time purposely decline your revenue. Like they're this whole tax holiday right now to make everyone feel good around Christmas time. So they've cut GST and some other, I think, some taxes, right, on certain things, alcohol and electronics and a few things. I mean, but they're cutting their revenue to make their clients feel good. That doesn't make sense to me, though.
Well, right, and not only that, but cutting their revenue that comes from us, that's going to have to be paid back by us anyways.
Right.
But how crazy is that they've cut the tax on potato chips,
Yeah.
but they have not cut the tax on protein powder. They have cut the tax on chocolate bars, but
Right.
they have not cut the tax on protein bars.
Right.
So it's like
Or
we're
gym
so
memberships,
look at,
probably not. Like, they're not going to cut the tax on gym memberships come January, right?
well, exactly. So it's like, so where's your incentive? So your incentive to spend is on things that keep
Alcohol, potato chips.
that keep you stuck in a system, that keeps you sick, that keeps you dumb.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah, you're right. Don't get you started. And then
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
how hard it is to book. Do you know how hard it is to book an ultrasound appointment? Like, so yeah, you're getting all the great. I can get a deal on potato chips and alcohol. Fantastic. I'm gonna fatten myself up over Christmas. I'm gonna get probably sick come January because I'm doing that. I'm out partying. I'm staying up late. My behavior, my habits have all changed. And then Tony Robbins talks about this, right? Come January, when is the flu spike? Right? It's in January. So you've just gone through all of this stress of the holidays. You're spending all this money. You get your credit card bills. You've eaten all this crap. You're changing all your behaviors. Come January, you get sick and you wonder why. And then you try and book an appointment to go see a doctor. Oh my God. We're going to turn into those grumpy dads.
yeah, we should. The subtitle should be "Don't get me started."
Don't get me started, dads.
Dad talks. Don't get me started. Hey, don't get me started.
This is nothing at all what we wrote down to talk about today.
No, sorry. I started with my 4:30 wake up time revelations.
Somehow that turned into a 30-minute conversation. But I like your new.
You like my new
your whiteboard desk. Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that.
Whiteboard desk is fun. Yeah, I'm always looking for ways to make things a little bit more fun.
Fun. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I was saying the Japanese word kaizen, but that's about these micro changes to make things more efficient. That's, I guess, probably the lens there, because it came from Toyota. But I like what you just said there. That, to make things more fun, little baby steps to make things more fun.
Yeah, I guess. Well, it is more. I guess the efficiency part for me came afterwards. Like it became something that I realized after. Like, oh yeah, actually, this is pretty efficient. Like I could write. So so what we're talking about is my desk that I'm sitting at. The top of it, I made it into a whiteboard. So it's just like a desktop that it's just a regular desktop that I bought a giant 3M sticker to put on, like a whiteboard sticker by 3M that usually would stick on a wall or something like that, and I stuck it on my tabletop. So my tabletop now is a giant whiteboard. So initially I bought it because I wanted something different and cool looking for doing videos. So if I was doing some sort of tutorial video, I could have an overhead camera looking down on my desk, and I could just write. Yeah. So instead of having writing stuff on a whiteboard.
Sure, like the teacher, no one likes that probably right now. That's like they're tired of getting lectured. Someone standing up at a whiteboard.
Yeah, so it's kind of like like an over the shoulder. So someone would get an over the shoulder view of what I'm doing, and so that's why I did that. So it was kind of fun. It was like an interesting thing. I wanted to keep things interesting. I wanted, because for me the biggest thing is just experience. I know that information doesn't change our life, experiences do. So when as a teacher, as as a speaking coach, as a mastermind
Doctor.
leader, whatever it is, like I want people to have an experience that's going to help to transform their life. And so however I can facilitate that, that's what I love doing. So this just became like how I just want to give a different experience of learning, especially when it's virtual.
Right. Because you need, the engagement's even lower. You gotta find new ways to keep the engagement, right?
Yeah. So that's how this was created. Then after that, it was like, oh, it's pretty efficient, and it's pretty cool to just be like, oh, whenever I have an idea, I don't have to like get my, because I still do have little sticky notes and stuff like that, but I can just grab a pen and just write it on my desk.
Yeah. More environmental.
Yeah.
You're not cutting down trees to make them sticky notes.
Yeah. I mean, I am using these pens, but.
Wow. That should last for a while. So yeah, I want that. I was saying this, I was like, okay, then all this, cause I'm making these notes on, I'm reusing letters at least, like, so that are going to get recycled. So I'm not wasting new paper, but
what's that on your wrist on the other side there? No, on the other one. Show me that. Oh, it's a watch. Look at that. You're wearing a watch.
I hold up the other hand this time. This was my right hand. But do you have the overhead cam set up?
Not anymore. No. I did when I moved into this house. The way that my lighting is set up, the overhead cam, there's too much glare. There's a glare from this light that's in front of me. It's got what's called, I think it's called an eggshell grid or something like that. It's like a grid, like a lighting grid thing that's on top of my light. That makes the light way more directional. But it creates this weird. Lights? Pardon me?
You have digital lights?
Well, it's a big softbox, so actually it is an LED light, but it's a big softbox. It's probably it's like 3 feet wide. It's all around.
But you can't change the settings of it. Like, so I know you have a little console on your desk. I met this guy that makes movies. Thomas's birthday the other night. He's been in lighting for 25 years, and now it's all like master controlled, right, from like a DJ panel where they can tune everything. So I was like, oh, I want that too, where you could change all the lighting colors and filters and everything just from one little spot.
Yeah, I could change a whole bunch, but just the purpose of this light, I can't change. Well, I haven't figured out how to change how it glares on my desk.
Okay.
But so I took it away.
And then you got your little control panel there. It's like show and tell.
Yes, I've got it's called a Stream Deck.
I want that too.
And the next thing I want to get is
what do you do with that?
So I can change the different scenes. I can change the scenes.
I'm not Batman, so tell me how you do these things, Batman.
Well, it's like having a one-man production crew here. So right. if we had like last week when we had different people, we had we had 4 people. So I created a bunch of different scenes. So I could change the scene. So have somebody show up. Big screen and the other small.
The
different scenes.
You're doing it real time just by pressing some buttons there.
Yeah, so I'm doing a bunch of editing stuff just real time. I could pull up pictures. I can play an audio thing just by these little buttons. And it's not just for this program. It's just any sort of hotkey that you have on your computer, you can program it from here.
Yeah, play music.
Yeah, and the next thing. So this is made by a company called Elgato, which makes a bunch of really cool stuff for video streaming and stuff like that. They also have
they can send us one of those.
Yeah. Well, what the next thing I want to get is, because now I'm still, so I mean, if you can see me on screen, I'm still pushing a button with my hand here, but they also have a foot pedal that I want to get. Whoa. So they have a foot pedal where it's like a USB controlled foot pedal. So it's just plugged into the computer and it does the same thing. So there's 3 pedals. So I just click the button on the right and it'll do whatever I tell it to do or whatever it's programmed to do. So I can change scenes just by clicking on the different buttons with my foot. So you'd never know. So I could be talking with my hands and still clicking through stuff. So that's the next thing I want to get.
How do you find out about these things?
YouTube.
Is it the algorithm? Are you looking for them, or what's your process to find that?
Well, I'm in some different Facebook groups that look for that. I'm also just interested in.
What's the Facebook group called?
I mean, there's some different ones. One is for the software that I use called Ecamm.
Okay.
Which is like
so it's the community of people that are doing the similar things with recording, and then they're figuring out some of these solutions.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's kind of started so back in the this is COVID times. So right when so back in the day, there was this stupid pandemic thing that happened, and we were all locked into our homes for a little bit. And I had these lights. Actually, I don't. You can't see them anymore.
You mean that period of time where they shut down nature and you couldn't go on hikes?
Yeah,
They actually barricaded the hiking trails that time.
Yeah, yeah, and I remember in California they filled in the skate parks. They put the skate bowls or the pool bowls for the skating. They filled it in with sand so people couldn't use them. Oh, so silly. Anyways, don't get me started. So there is these tube lights that I had seen. So these like tubes. They look like remember on Star Wars, like the lightsabers. Oh, it looked like a big lightsaber. And so there's these LED lights. They're made like people had them. There's one guy that I watch, Parker Walbeck, who he's like a video producer. He used to do he used to produce videos for people. Then he had a course on how to make these different videos. He's got a really cool YouTube channel, giant YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Parker Walbeck and his crew.
We'll tag him on this. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but he had his background, he had these lights in the background. I'm like, that's super dope.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to recreate that. I'm like, I wonder if I can get those lights. So I looked up those lights, and each one of these lights was like $500. So I was like, all right, that was not in my budget, and I was like, I couldn't justify spending that just to have a bunch of lights in my background.
Sure.
And then I was talking to my cousin's husband, Ian, who's a filmmaker as well. He's a director of photography, and he's the guy that actually helps me the most. Like when any smart thing that I say about video stuff, it's because Ian has already told me. So I'm just regurgitating what he's told me. But I was telling him about these lights. He's like, oh yeah, he knows those lights, and he's like, oh, you just make those. I was like, what? He's like, oh yeah. So I went on YouTube and I saw somebody who had made these like LED lights, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I followed some tutorials, kind of some of the stuff I didn't know, like wasn't on the video. So, but I made these lights. I ended up making 5 of these lights, and they used to be in my background.
I remember
now I have them in the corner. Yeah. So, and actually, I have a couple behind. You can't see them anymore, but I used to have them in the background, and I made 5 of them for, I think it was maybe like $100 total. It took me a bunch of time to do.
Oh no, all of them for $100.
All of them for $100, rather than like $300, $400, $500 a piece.
Oh yeah.
And
5% the cost.
Yeah. Like and I was I was at home during the pandemic. I wasn't doing it. Like my kids were, when we only had one kid at the time. No, we had 2. No, we had just had 2, our second. And so my wife and my my younger one were sleeping in the bed. I was sleeping downstairs because I was waking everybody up in the middle of the night, and also with the baby being up in the middle of the night too. So I slept downstairs a lot, and so I just watched these tutorials, these like YouTube videos. And so now it's to the point. Well, and now the next thing I made was this. So everything, my whole system that I have set up here is all on one stand. So my light, my microphone, which is up here, now I use this microphone for podcasts, but when I record videos, I have another mic that's just sitting right up here that you can't see. It's just out of frame. It's like a directional mic. I have my light, my camera, everything sits on one stand. So I can it's on a wheeled stand. So actually I can move it anywhere around the house and create like a scene just by moving my little stand, as opposed to like setting up lights, setting up a camera, like having all of this stuff. I set it all up on one stand.
And here I was proud of myself for moving back in my shot.
No, but it's great though.
And I put a little, so Alain's, inspired me, and he's been teaching me. So I put a light back here, and that was significant for me. If you can see, I can't make my finger do that properly, but there's a little light back there, and I was pretty happy with myself. And then I met this woman who taught me that, even with Zoom calls, if you're like right in front of the camera, it's like that Seinfeld episode of being the close talker. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. Look at my face. I'm like right pressed up against my video. So I pushed my monitor back that's got the camera on it, and then I moved this microphone back. So like now I'm not close talking anymore. I was pretty happy with myself, but then meanwhile you've got all these gadgets and yeah, all right, I gotta catch up.
I mean, it's just something that I'm fascinated with. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just always fascinated by people who are fascinated with things. Like, I will watch endless amount of hours of, people doing stuff that they're just really passionate about.
Sure. And it's amazing when you do get to learn that about somebody, what it is, right? Because it's like, wow, that I never would have known. Like I was sitting next to, we had this dad lunch. I know you were in your office, but we had the dad lunch, and there was 13 dads that came out. It was really cool. And I sat next to one of the dads that I'd never talked to before. And he's from, well, a really interesting background. Like he's what did he say? 1/8 Russian and 7/8, I don't know exactly how you measure this, but 7/8 Persian from Iran. But he doesn't look, the typical Persian person. Like he looks more Russian, even though it was 1/8 in his lineage. And his own history was fascinating that he's telling me. But in his sort of professional life, he does some engineering work and real estate development. But then what he's talking to me about, he knew more about the prefecture of where my great grandparents came from in Japan, on my Japanese side. He knew more about this Shiga prefecture than anyone I've ever met. He knew about all the ninja clans and the samurai clans and the feudal lords and why this village was here and this tower was here and why they had all these castles. I was like, dude, like, how do you know this? And he's super passionate about history.
That's really cool. Very, very cool.
Yeah.
I find that really fun about media, especially when I meet new dads, to see, because we see, we're all kind of doing the same things. Usually when we meet, we're like, we're playing with our kids, or we're looking after them, or we're doing tasks, or, things like that. But then to find out, I'm always fascinated to see like what's kind of behind the curtain, like what's behind the thing that we normally see. Like what's the thing that keeps you up at night? Like what's the thing that fascinates you? What's the thing that you're just like, that more than 99% of the people about? Like, and just some weird random little thing. Yeah. Like
there's another dad that has these really expensive pens, like $20,000 for one pen from Japan. It's this whole pen art thing that I had no idea about. But he makes videos around these, and I was just blown away. I was like, I had no idea this existed. I had no idea, the art and the craftsmanship, and I had no idea you are passionate about this. Again, from just because you're right, like a lot of the dads said, it was great to talk to the dads and get to know them more than just the chit chat at the playground or the drop offs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. There's way more to all of us than meets the eye.
Well, wasn't that Transformers?
Yeah, more than meets. Don't get me started.
Listen, kids. Yeah, oh man, I used to love Transformers. Like they were made of real metal, when we were kids. And I used to be so proud of myself that I wouldn't need the instructions. I could figure out how to make, whatever they were supposed to make. But they were solid, right? They were a good toy. Did you have Transformers?
I had Transformers. Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, I had some, not a ton. I mean, I had like Optimus Prime.
Sure.
Yeah,
I had a plain one. I don't know if that was Starscream or one of the bad dudes. I think I had a good guy plane.
I think when other people had Transformers, I had wrestling figurines.
Oh yeah, like those rubbery ones. Like those were solid too, right? Where you could actually like. Did you have the ring? Did you have the ring?
I don't remember if I had a ring. I don't remember the ring, but I remember like having the Hulk Hogan and the Andre the Giant.
Who was your favorite?
Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh yeah. Was this the guy that did like this thing when he went in the ring?
I don't actually. Now I don't really remember.
They all had like a move, and they all had like, they were very iconic, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really remember much about it. I do remember those figurines. For the longest time, I think actually my parents still have them. My parents kept a whole bunch of stuff, from our childhood, just to so that their grandkids, like my kids, now have stuff to play with.
It might be worth something.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, they're not in great shape, but
oh yeah,
maybe.
I remember playing with those though. My buddy Dave Mix had those. Shout out to Dave Mix, the star of BC Hydro. He used to have, I'm pretty sure he had the Ring, and I remember playing in his basement with them, and they were solid. Like you could really like battle with them.
Yeah, totally. They would hurt. Also, I've been hurt, and I have hurt others with those things.
Well, sure. If you got little boys playing with wrestling figures, I mean, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, one of them is going to get it hucked at their head at some
Clobbered
point.
with this solid rubber. Like they were solid. Like you don't make stuff out of that anymore.
Oh no.
Maybe for safe. Maybe for good reason.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And as we're talking, it really reminds me that, here I am, a 46-year-old man, reminiscing about these really cool little rubber toys that I had when I was a kid, and like it brings me so much joy to think about that, and to think that like all of us, like that's where we came. And sure. I'm often reminded, especially with and this is something that I teach my kids, is like when someone is acting mean, it's not because they are mean. Like we really try to separate the behavior and the identity.
And the person. Yeah.
Yeah. And to think that somebody who has grown up, like we don't know what happened to someone when they were a kid.
Childhood. Yeah.
And kids are not born mean. Kids are not born like hateful. Kids are not born, racist or stereotype. Like kids are not that. Like that is learned behavior. Yeah. And when someone is acting in a way that we don't like, in a way that hurts us, like it's hard to remember sometimes in the moment, but it's like all of these people, like I look so much at people now, and it's like, oh yeah, like you were just a little kid. Like I'm just looking at a little kid who went through life. And I think like the more that I can just look at when I look at somebody, that I can just see the essence, like I can see the kid that's inside of them. Mm-hmm. Like what does that little boy, what does that little girl really want? They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be loved, sure. They don't want to be judged, they want to be accepted. And when I can go into, they just want to have fun playing with their little toys. They just want to, huck the Cabbage Patch toy across the room and laugh about it with their friends. Sure. And like the more that we can, the more that we can just bring ourselves back into the present moment of that, I think the world would be a lot better place. So we're not judging people for like that person is such an asshole, or they're mean, or they're evil, or like no, they're just a little kid who had a bunch of shit happen to them, and this is what you're like. This is the moment where you meet them.
So yeah, you're right. And totally. I mean, I literally just had that conversation. Do you notice how many times people say the word literally, by the way?
I've had to literally train myself not to say
literally. So I have this video that I thought was for sure was going to go viral. William and I made this video. We took one of Gordon Ramsay's cooking videos, and he says it. I was like, man, he says it a lot. And so we counted how many times he did it in like this 10-minute YouTube clip. And so I used Opus AI, and I told it to find me all the clips, because you can give it a keyword. And I said, find me all the, because it saved me, a whole bunch of time. I said, give me all the clips when he says literally. And so we made this. It took us only a few minutes, really, to make this video of him cooking, going literally, 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 literally. I was like, for sure, this has got to go viral. Nah, nothing. But literally, you said something that I'd never considered. You're totally right. It's separating, because I just had this conversation. I had to stop myself because I was going to say it literally. That's going to be a hashtag for this video, isn't it? The
first hashtag, don't get me started.
I wonder if, so I put all of our shows in ChatGPT, right? And it generates our show notes. I'm curious to see what it kicks out from this episode. If it actually does create a hashtag called "Don't Get Me Started," right. And one called literally, and tags everybody that we talked about. Can you do that, ChatGPT? So yeah, I just had this conversation about behavior. You know, someone's may be acting controlling, but they're not. They're not controlling. And I mean, man, I've done this too, right? Where you slip and you say something like that. But yes, the work is to detach the two things. But the big thought was, yeah, I've never heard the story of Hitler as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, what was his childhood like? I'm sure it's documented. I've just never considered it. I've never actually looked at that. You know, like in the dad book I'd like to write, there'll definitely be a chapter on don't do what Hitler's parents did.
Right. Right. Or was it even something that his parents did?
Sure, I'm making an assumption, but yeah. And then the other chapter will be do what Jesus's parents did.
Right.
Potentially. Right? Like
Yeah.
we don't talk about that part, right? We give Jesus all this power, like it's Christmas coming up, but we're all like, Jesus is the savior and Jesus this and Jesus. I mean, don't get me wrong, he was a really cool dude. And it seems like he had some pretty cool parents.
Blasphemous.
What's that? What?
No, I'm just joking. No, you're right. You're totally right.
What's Joseph and Mary, right? They were probably an amazing couple, maybe. What was there? Is there some? I don't know much about. Like I wasn't raised in a religion. So is there some scripture or some book that someone wrote about Jesus and Mary?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
Joseph
and I
and
guess
Mary?
that just brings up the idea of like nature versus nurture. I
Right.
think, and yeah, like what's the interplay between all that forms who we are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a homework assignment for you kids. Come back next week with a report on the parenting styles of Adolf Hitler's mom and dad and Jesus' mom and dad. And don't just ask ChatGPT, please.
Right. Well, and interestingly, yeah, I can look back and like when I look back on my childhood, I think like I had an amazing childhood. My parents are still I consider them my heroes. I still think they're the most important people in my life, and I love them more than anything. And I know that even at that, I've got shit that I've brought through and that I've have felt small t trauma. Like
Sure.
there's shit that's happened to me that I have that I now bring into my present moment in terms of guilt and shame and things that I don't like about myself or things that hold me back or all these limiting beliefs that I picked up along the way, even though
You see,
my parents I thought were awesome. I still are awesome.
you still got some of that stuff, man. I've dealt with all that. I'm done.
Well, I can't wait to read your book.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, totally. Even you're right, and I think that's why we have these great jams is because similarly, I look back fondly on my childhood, right? Getting to play with these toys. Some kids might not even get toys. But getting the chance to be a kid. How many times I got to just explore the backyard on my own and their support with my activities and whatever, even to this day, I just called them the other night. I'm like, I just find it so weird at 46, like my dad just turned 80, that I'm calling you guys, like still is, but I'm still their kid, right? But I'm still calling them for advice because, they're still learning too, right? So they're still always 30 something years ahead of me. But yeah, they've always been there for me to this day.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Shout out to the folks. They're not online, so we're tagging them. But okay, well, we're at the hour, and we did not even touch what we wrote down here about favorite travel stories with kids. So next week, maybe, maybe. I have no guarantee.
For sure, maybe. For
Sure, literally, maybe.
Do you remember that from Parks and Rec? The
When I was
character Rob Lowe.
Okay.
Rob Lowe plays his character where he's like really you dig this character. He's like really into health and like tracking his fitness data, and like he's always like this health nut. And he would say that any experience that was literally the best smile I've ever seen. Or he would say that is literally, like that was one of his lines.
You think that's where it came from? Do you think he started this whole literally, whatever we want to call this, wave?
I don't know if he started it or maybe he was picking up on the fact that people say
right. He was making fun of people who were playing, not making fun, but just having a little fun with the people that were saying like I'd like to know where it started.
But maybe look that up I'm sure there's a compilation of him saying literally on YouTube. Rob Lowe's character, I can't remember the name of his character on Parks and Rec.
If anyone wants to make that video, that'll go viral. But no one's probably watching this right now, so they won't hear that. But maybe that'll be William's homework for today.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to. I mean, the school's kind of done. You know, it's the end of the term here. It's Christmas. Teachers are all checked out. He's like, Dad, do I need to go to school? I'm like, well, you don't need to. But, you know, are you going to get some good learning there today? No, they're probably going to watch some movies or whatever, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. I mean, you can stay home if you want, but what are you going to do? You're not just staying home and playing video games. So what are you going to do? It's your day. It's your life. So he thought about it. And he came back to me and he had some good ideas. So I was like, okay.
There you go.
There you go.
Fantastic.
So
shout out to William.
I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add some. What's that?
Shout out to William.
Well, but he just got some more homework. So actually, I just realized that he's gonna get to make that video about Rob Lowe, and well, I'll see if he's excited. And then also the research assignment on Hitler's parents.
Yeah, and shout out to Harland Williams. 1,000 apologies for calling you Harland Wayans. Sorry, it's early still. So
I got a whole
Harland Williams
vision of who you were talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the greatest comedians ever.
Who?
Harland Williams. He's hilarious.
Okay.
He's awesome.
Really memorable. Yeah.
All right. Have a great day.
Yeah, I was just going to close with this is what my eldest said when she was a kid.
Yeah.
It's all the words I got in my mouth.
That's all the words. There you go. All right. We'll see you next week.
All right, bro. Love you. See ya.